Aboru aboye. You know, at a certain point in your spiritual journey, you're going to have to make a real decision. Is Orisha lifestyle a hobby or is it your destiny? Okay? Now, I don't have to go into all the details about the differences between hobby and destiny. You know, right? You know the difference. You're going to approach your destiny with an entirely different level of energy and intention and intensity. It's completely different from a hobby. All right? But you need to decide what is it for you? All right? Calling it your destiny but treating it like a hobby, that's just not going to work. Okay? So you need to really make that decision. It's time for you to start thinking about this. Is it a hobby or is it your destiny? Now, this is a continuation of a previous conversation that is on a video that's called Are You Spiritual or Are You Religious? And in that video, what I do is I walk you through 5 capabilities of a spiritual person. If you're spiritual, there are 5 things that you have to be able to do. Otherwise, you're not spiritual. You're not. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Are you spiritual or are you religious? And I walk you through the 5 capabilities of a spiritual person. For today's conversation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the 5 capabilities of a religious person, particularly a person who practices the Orisha religion from West Africa. By extension, many of the things that I'm going to define for you are universal. You can apply them to all the other traditions in varying degrees. Okay. And before I get into that, though, let me tell you that this is the School of Orisha Studies, and I am your instructor, Obafemi Origunwa. And today's lesson is all about the 5 capabilities of a religious person, of an Orisha devotee. The 5 capabilities of an Orisha devotee. These 5 capabilities are what you have to be able to demonstrate if you are going to be a devotee, or if you're going to be initiated, or you're going to be a priest or priestess. You've got to be able to demonstrate these 5 capabilities if you're going to be a devotee, if you're going to be initiated, or you're going to be a priest or priestess. It's obligatory. You cannot evade these 5 capabilities. Impossible. Not if you're going to fall into any one of those 3 categories, okay? So, what's the first one? The first thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to identify the worship calendar. For us in the Yoruba tradition, it's a 4-day calendar. All right, it's a 4-day calendar. That's for Orisha devotion. And the 4-day calendar with a variety of verses that tell us about the importance of the 4-day calendar. Osemeji is one, Obarameji is another, Iwori Wotura is another. You know, you can follow up with your Oluwo, your teacher, and they will, you know, explain to you what happens in those different verses. But the worship calendar is obligatory. It's obligatory. It's inherent to our practice. You cannot be a practitioner and not know what the worship calendar is. You cannot do it. Okay? So that's number one. You got to know the worship calendar. Number two, you have to be able to recite Ijuba or Iba. Okay? Again, there are a variety of verses that tell us about the importance of Iba. Ofun Otura being one. Oyekumeji in a way. And the Oyekumeji more is about giving praise, right? Yini, you know, Ifa tells us about giving praise, but it's closely intertwined with Iba. Ijuba is essential to our practice. You've got to be able to invoke the favor of different segments of the spiritual community, right? And get leverage with those different forces in order for you to engage in any kind of a ritual activity, no matter how simple. you have to be able to recite Ijuba, right? That's how you get leverage. That's how you get favor with the different forces. Number 3, you have got to be able to recite Oriki for at least 3 Orisha. Oriki are the praise poems of the different divinities. You got to be able to recite Oriki for Eshu. You got to be able to recite Oriki for Egungun, the ancestors. You got to be able to recite Oriki for Ori. Now you can add on to that any other number of divinities, but you cannot take away from those 3. You got to be able to recite Oriki for Eshu, Egungun, and Ori. Obligatory if you're going to be a practitioner of Orisha lifestyle. Okay? And again, there are a whole spectrum of sources for you to validate that. Oriki is indispensable. If you're going to be a religious devotee, you've got to recite Oriki for at least those 3 Orisha. Okay? Next, you got to be able to read Obi. All right? You've got to be able to read. And when I say read Obi, I'm talking about the 5, basic Obi. The 5 signature Obi. The most basic Obi divination has 5 signatures. You got to be able to identify the signature. You got to know what to say when you see each signature. You got to know what gestures that you're going to do when you see that signature, and you have to be able to interpret. Okay, what is this signature telling me? Right? Obligatory. You cannot be a devotee if you cannot read Obi. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. You cannot be a priest or a priestess and you can't read Obi. You cannot even be a devotee, a practitioner with your own shrine and making your daily prayers. You can't do it without being able to read Obi. Okay? Obligatory. And again, there's a whole just array of verses of Ifa that explain to you the importance of Obi, the function of Obi, right? In fact, I've written a book on the subject, Jida Obi. If you want to know, you can go and read it there. But it's universally true. Obi is an indispensable part of your practice. If you can't read Obi, and when I say read Obi, see it, speak to it, acknowledge it with a gesture, and understand what the Obi is telling you. If you can't do that, you're not ready to be an initiate. You're not ready to be a devotee. All right? And last but not least, number 5, you've got to be able to make some basic offerings. You got to be able to offer water, gin, palm oil, and the Obi itself. At the very least, you got to be able to offer those 4 things. Now, you can add to that. There's a variety of other things that you can add in your basic devotion. But at least those 4 items have got to be, you got to understand how to offer those things. And to offer them, you have to have some understanding of what their spiritual qualities are, right? What their attributes are, how you offer them, what sequence. All that is part of the practice, okay? This is the basic fundamental skill set of an Orisha devotee. Before you get initiated, you must learn those 5 capabilities. Okay? Now, I teach all of those in the School of Orisha Studies. You can go there, enroll, and get busy. And as a matter of fact, I won't leave it so open. Listen, if you've been following my studies, you've bought this book, you've bought that book, you follow me on social media, you watch my videos, and, this is your opportunity. This is your time, right? Make it happen. Stop, vacillating. Stop procrastinating. Stop treating your destiny as a hobby, or determine that it's a hobby and keep going, just around the world and being a beachcomber and picking up a little of this and a little bit of that, okay? But be clear with yourself, this is just a hobby. If you're someone who considers Orisha lifestyle your destiny, this is the pathway to your destiny. It's time for you to start acting accordingly. Now, I'm doing my part to make the offer to you. I'm doing my part to provide the resources and the support that you need to make that happen. You need to do your part. You need to commit, and you need to acknowledge to yourself, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm all about. This is how I'm going to fulfill my divine purpose here in the world. Let me stop making excuses and get serious about my practice, my discipline, and my destiny. Aboru aboye, aboshishe.